Tell me more about what you're doing now in the organization you're working for.
Well, so at the time that I realized it was time to get out, that basically coincided with another friend of mine who had who I had worked with on a couple of projects, who had transitioned from being a film and television producer to a corporate video producer, and he had a lot of work that they needed a writer for, and he reached out to me and said, "Hey, do you want to come do some of this work for us? We need someone to write these scripts." And I was so reluctant and dead set against it, because I was just like, I've never done that before. I don't know. And he said, "I know you. I know what you can do. You should do this." So I did that, and that was the beginning of my sort of second life career in corporate communication. So I started out primarily writing corporate video scripts for a creative agency, and then, because I had the journalism background, I also, that someone would say, "Oh, we need to write a press release on this," and I was like, "Well, actually, I've done like a thousand press releases," so I would do that, and then that got into blog writing, and I got hired by clients to write, blogs, because while newspapers and magazines died, what coincided with that was digital content exploded. So everybody still needed writers to write articles. It was just in a different venue, on a different platform. So I I was able to do that, and so for the last 7 8 years, I basically built my corporate communications uh, writing career on a freelance basis. And then that led to getting hired on a contract and full time at a creative agency. And then that led to where I am now, which is I'm now working for a uh, large international corporation as a senior content writer, where I'm doing a lot of uh, again, blogs, long form reports, guides, just basically across the board content writing.
How are you feeling about the work?
Well, it's, you know what, it's great, because I you know I feel like all of those years doing everything has given me a unique set of skills, sort of to kind of, rip off Liam Neeson from Taken. I have this, I have a very specific set of skills, but having the, you know, even the screenwriting background actually really plays in a lot as a great foundation for what I'm doing in corporate writing, because I was telling people that, they talk about, oh, we need, customer success stories and case studies and things like that. And, you know, I just kind of felt like I was looking at them, and I'm like, I don't think that this is the way to go. And I said, really, a great customer success story kind of follows the basic principles of narrative storytelling. Of, once upon a time, there was a problem in the village, and then, this company came in and did XYZ and fixed it, and then that led to this and this, and then in the end, everybody lived happily ever after, and blah blah blah. And when I sort of broke it down to them like that, they're like, yeah, yeah, that's exactly how we should do it. So I feel like everything, people say, it's kind of a cliche to say, everything I've done in the past has sort of like led up to like what I'm doing now. But in a lot of ways, I think one of the reasons why I've found success in corporate comms is because I didn't come through a traditional corporate comms background. And that means that I see things differently, and I approach things differently, and I can bring something else to the job that not a lot of other people can. And yeah, and so it's a really interesting experience.
What are the qualities that you had during that time?
Well, I think that first and foremost, I think you need to be entrepreneurial. Like you're always, you have to wear two hats. You have to do the thing that you're good at, but you also know how to market and sell yourself so
Hmm.
you can get the job of the thing that you're good at. For me, I actually really liked it because I, I when I was freelancing, I never had paid time off and corporate benefits and stuff like that. All of sort of the perks of like full time, you know, employment. But I also didn't have the constraints, right? I was able to set my own schedule, and I could work from anywhere. I mean, to me. Uh, the whole work from anywhere thing in a pre-COVID world was what was most appealing. In fact, right before COVID, I the winters of 2018 and 2019, when I had my freelance clients, I went down and spent a month in Florida, staying with family down there. And people said, "Oh wow, that's a great vacation." And I said, "No, I wasn't on vacation. I was getting up and doing my work every day and having my coffee in the morning and writing my assignments and doing stuff like that. I was just doing it from from a place where it was like 26 degrees in the third week of January, right? And it was this thing of like, but like for the longest time, I never thought of that. And again, this was before this was pre-COVID, before work from anywhere, work from home. But I started tapping into that and going, hey, wait, this is really one of the benefits of this lifestyle, which is you can, as long as I have my laptop and a Wi-Fi connection, I can do my work from anywhere. I don't have to rely on vacation time and getting approved time off and stuff like that to travel and see different places of the world. Because it was funny, because I was like, hey, I just discovered this. This is great. I'm going to do this for the next 10 years. And then the following year, COVID hit, and that was pretty much it. But if you're somebody who enjoys that, then that that flexibility, then it's for you. I do know people who say, no, 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 I need to know that I'm getting a paycheck every 2 weeks and it's going to be this amount and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
if that's the way that you're hardwired, then you're probably not a great candidate for that.
And I feel like now I'm interviewing the inventor of working from away, the digital nomad.
Well, it's a really uh, it's a really funny story of how I came to see that. Is I was having dinner with a old university friend who was in town, and he was talking, and we were chatting. He said, "So how's a freelance thing going?" And I'm like, "Oh, great! I've got these clients, these clients, these clients," and he's like, "So so you can work from like anywhere, right?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "You just need like your laptop and a Wi-Fi connection, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "And you spend your winters in Canada?" And I said, Yeah." And then he just looks at me and he says, "You're the dumbest expletive person I've ever met." And and I was like, "Hey, that's really kind of hurtful." And, but but he has a point, right? And it's just because we this whole like work from remote, work work from away, it was so not in our ethos that the thought had never occurred to me. Yeah, right. Because I thought, well, no, you don't travel and work. Like, you work, and then like if you want to take a vacation, then you travel. But I was like, but when you really think about it, why I don't have to do that, right? Because I'm not going into the office every day. I don't have a boss that needs to approve it. And it was that was the impetus where I said, yeah, yeah, why don't I just go away for like a month in the winter or somewhere warm and just work from there?
Awesome.
You know,
So now that you're in this new career, how has that changed life for you? And why now?
Well, I mean, I think because I'm at the stage of my life where I really do I really do want the, like I don't, I think, have the patience or the mindset for that merry-go-round again. So everything that, you know full-time corporate work brings is very, very nice. What I didn't expect, though, was how it kind of liberated me, though, to still be creative, because again, one of the things that, like, I didn't understand is that when you do it the wrong way, the way that I the way that I did, you kind of hamper yourself, because you need to be creative and produce good creative work, but you're also, you know, putting yourself in a bad, just life, day-to-day financial situation, right? And
Mhm.
that kind of constant stress of, am I going to make rent this month, or can I afford to do this, or, all of those things that come from the traditional quote unquote starving artist life really does impact your ability to kind of do great work. And now that I'm in a much different place, I realize that I'm having all of these ideas of things that I want to write. And a few years ago, I turned one of my TV ideas into a novel, and that won an award, and which was really, really in encouraging, and made me want to do more. So I kind of feel like by doing the sort of corporate 9 to 5 work, in a lot of ways, it has freed me up, because I can pursue other creative projects and do them just because I want to do them, and because they bring me a lot of satisfaction, and I can do it without the pressure that, oh, I have to sell this, or this has to bring in money, and, like, if I don't sell this to a publisher, or a production company, or a broadcaster, then no money's going to come in, and that's going to be the set. Like, once you take all of that out of it, it really is quite liberating, to just allow yourself to do fun creative work.
Mm, yeah, I can see that. So you did
And
make reference to your book, and I want to hear more about the book. I-
mhm.
I'd love for you to share more about the book, which I have read and
Yeah,
very much enjoyed. And I think that it fits this generation as your target audience for that book.
yeah. So it's called the New 20, and it was basically came from, sort of what you see online, all these memes and things that would say 40 is the new 20, or, this and that. And so the book is basically about this 40-year-old guy who, at his high school reunion, suffers a humiliating, uh, embarrassing incident, and it kind of sort of forces him to examine his life, and he realizes that he never really accomplished everything that he wanted to, and, believing that it's never too late, and not now is the time, he sets out to sort of try to embrace all of the bold new adventures that he never took, and in the hopes of eventually becoming the man he always envisioned him becoming. And it's it, it's a humor fiction book, so that was just a setup that gave me a lot of ways to explore how he would fall on his face, again and again. But I think I really just wanted to say something about, reinvention, and sort of tapping into who you are, um, and that process was very, very satisfying in its own right, because I didn't pitch that to traditional publishers. I published it on Wattpad, which is an online publishing venue where you can put it up there and you'll be read by readers from all over the world. And what uh, I was hoping people would find it funny. What I didn't anticipate was the number of people and the age range who said that really inspired them, or it spoke to them, or they saw themselves in the main character. One of which being this 17-year-old Nigerian girl who wrote to me with the most beautiful backhanded compliment I ever received. She wrote to me and said, "Thank you for writing this book. It's very beautiful. It really inspired me. Someday I hope to be a writer as great as you, although hopefully I do it before I'm as old as you are," or something like that. And anyway, I said, what a beautiful backhanded compliment. But that's the thing. I'm thinking, like, how does a 17-year-old girl from Nigeria connect with this story about these doofuses? And the same thing I was hearing from people in Portugal and the Philippines and South America and all this stuff. And it kind of, what it said to me is, we kind of are very sensitive these days about identity politics, and I find that what that taught me is that when you speak about something that is universally human, like the feelings of inadequacy, the feeling that you haven't done that, these things resonate with an audience regardless of gender or geography or religion or things like that. Like when you really get down and just try to speak to the things that matter to you,
Mm-hmm.
you find that they can matter to everyone.
I also enjoyed a lot of the references, the 80s references. And
Yes.
that's the part I was thinking of with Target is definitely, it was quite enjoyable. Just, yeah, just the things you drew into the story that were like, oh, yeah, that's the 80s. Oh, that's what we said. That's what we did. That was
Yeah.
pretty cool to actually relate to it directly rather than discovering something new. It was something very much, I mean, obviously we're the same age and from the same town. That was an angle that I really enjoyed, very much
Yeah.
enjoyed, was that. And of course, knowing you, I could
Mhm.
hear your voice reading the story. And
Yeah.
that really helps too.
That's what that's what a lot of people told me. Is they said, "Oh, I could hear you in the words and things like that," and
Yeah.
which either means I'm a very good writer or a very bad one, because so I
Yeah,
guess that's
very good one.
yeah.
Well, it was written, and I don't think I've read a lot of comedies, but
Hmm.
I mean, I could very easily visualize these social situations and see being acted. Absolutely.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
way things were described, it was, yeah, it's enjoyable. And it's just like you had said about spending 2 days talking about the wind blowing in the trees,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
2 pages. There wasn't a lot of that. It was more into the
yeah,
banter between people. And yeah,
yeah.
it's
And,
very
and
enjoyable.
yeah, and I mean that's something else too. Is that oftentimes we kind of have an idea of, like, a cookie cutter idea of what things need to be, like what writing needs to be. If it's this genre, it needs to read this. And the best advice I could give, which took me many years, is the simplest advice: is write in your own voice. And it gets back to what I said at the very beginning, which is trust your creative instincts. Like write in your voice. Don't try to emulate, or don't try to think like, oh, well, everybody loves the type of books where, again, someone describes a tree over 3 pages, so that's what I have to do. I knew I couldn't do that type of writing. I would not be very good at. But if I wrote what I felt comfortable with, what the way that that in almost engaged myself, then readers would hopefully find it engaging too, and that seems to have played out. So yeah, that was a big lesson learned.
Now, I just like to ask you, what are the what was the moment in your career that you feel was the most exciting to this date? Because you're not done yet.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think the most exciting day was the day that I found out that I was hired to write for the CTV series, because it was, I found out who I was going to be writing for, um, and so it turns out Mark McKinney, one of the kids in the hall, was cast in the show, and I was going to be he was going to be the main character that I was going to be writing for. So I always remember I was sort of um, uh, just like, so sort of one of those blown away, like, wow, like this is like, my dream was that, one day I would write for professional television and movies and stuff like this, and here this was happening. And oh, by the way, I was going to be writing for one of my comedy heroes, and the first time I met him, I literally got tongue tied. I couldn't speak. Like, that's so forget. He was so great on the set. Though, very nice guy, wonderful. But I just remember that day of being very excited. Like, oh my god, this is really happening.
Okay. Well, after you've been on both sides, you've worked for an organization, you still are, and in the past you've done freelance. What would you say to somebody who's finishing up a career and they're looking to get that retirement date under their belt so they can move on and try some new things? What would be your advice or your words of wisdom?
Whatever is deep in your heart, pursue it, do it. That's a thing. If you've ever thought, I always wanted to do something, but like I never did. Now is the time to do it, because I believe that if it deep down in your heart you have a drive to do it, then you were meant to do it in some way. Like, you have the ability to do it. So, everybody has reasons why they can't always sort of do what they want earlier in life. There are, there are family responsibilities, there are things like that. I 100% get it. But if you have the chance now to kind of do those things that you always wanted to do, then do it. Just do it smartly. Do it the smart way. But you should 100% do not leave that stone unturned.
Well, Tony, on that note, I think that's why we're doing these videos, and that's why I have my group. And I'm also remembering one of your screenplays about kids acting, and I think this has been a bit of a theme for you: is follow what you're passionate about. And I appreciate you sharing all of your wonderful stories. I definitely admire that you've always followed your passions, and that it might have been sometimes the hard way, but that's the whole thing. When you're being entrepreneurial, you don't know what's coming next.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you made your way. And if any young person were to hear you talk about that career, you had a lot of magical things happen through those years.
Yeah, yeah.
And you continue to be happy. So what
Mhm.
more could we ever want?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
Well, thanks for this. I always enjoy talking to you. I could talk to you for hours. So hopefully we can do this again soon sometime.
sure. See you in Toronto, Jeff.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Tony.